So this is a video I wished I'd have seen when I first got my first goose down under blanket. Oh dear, I've got no carrots again. Well, this is all new location here for me. I haven't actually camped here before, but it looks like a fair old distance to walk. It's always very deceiving, these hills. It was a nice little hike, a little bit further than they usually go, by a good couple of miles or so. So I don't really know where I am, but I've just seen this little patch and I like it. Just going to show you through the pack. I'm using my new hammock. This has got Woopies and Nylon Tree huggers that are additional to this. This is the Nature Fun hammock and it is gorgeous. It's a lovely material. It's only 20 quid. I bought the Woopies for 12 quid and these extra tree huggers as well, 2 for a £5 on a ring, which I'm going to sort them out in a minute. I've got a little basher. It's a real cheap nasty one. It'll do for tonight. It shouldn't rain. I might not even put that up. And didn't really have chance to look at this properly last time, the Jungle sleeping bag by Snugpak. So if all else fails, at the bottom of the pack here I've got a blizzard survival blanket. Hopefully shouldn't be needed. And I've got a choice of trees, so that's next job. And what I'm going to do here is tie a quick release knot into the tree hugger itself. So in through the ring, sort of slip knot behind it. Now for the hammock. Okay, just some final adjustments now, and we're going to put up the dreaded under blanket. So this is it. It's the 20-degree incubator from a company called Hammockgear in the USA. It's worth a lot of money, certainly a couple of hundred or so in UK pounds. But the one thing I wish I'd have done, and never until quite recently, is put this in a tumble dryer with a few tennis balls, about 6 tennis balls, before you do anything else to it. Because I was reading on the forum, this guy had exactly the same blanket as me, and his loft, that's the fluffiness of the actual under blanket, was about 6 centimeters like that, and 6 to 8 centimeters, and I got mine out. When I read that, looked at it, mine was like paper thin, and that's because all the feathers had been squashed together. And another stupid thing I'd done was leave it in its stuff sack from the day I had it, and once you do that you start squashing all them little feathers and they don't like working after that. So I think I've rescued this just in time. Get this on the coat hanger and just leave it hang in your wardrobe or somewhere nice and dry. Now we come to the bit that's probably the most controversial adjustment I've made to my under blanket, and that is I have swapped out the primary and secondary suspension. So if you're a seasoned hammock hanger, or you just can't buck tradition and you like being a sheeple, this episode is not for you. Tune off now, and I mean that, and go watch something else, because I've readjusted everything and hammock hangers are going to hate this. Now I've just got to get the under blanket to fit the hammock. So I make the adjustments, so I bring the under blanket right up to meet the hammock, and that is done like this. But I didn't know what the phrase dialing an under blanket in actually meant, so I'll show you now. Is I want to get the under blanket to contour the same shape as the hammock. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to leave the hammock on the outside and bring the under quilt up like this to meet the hammock, and to the other. Now what it is I'm trying to do here is to bring the underquilt to the same contour as the hammock. Now I've got it roughly the same height, which is where it needs to be. If anything, I would like the underquilt lifted a little higher actually than I have my hammock. But that's okay for now. You may have noticed here at the end, the head and foot end isn't conforming. Here's where my shoulders come here, and it needs lifting up. It came with these very small little cinch toddles here. I've taken them mini cord locks off and got the two little sections of cord and tied them in a very simple overhand knot, and this will also be stretched out now to that mini S-beaner. Anyway, let's have a look, see what's happened to the hammock. As you can see, it's following that contour a lot better now. If I just do the same the other side, you'll see this section here following the contour of the hammock. So now I'll just drop the hammock back in and climb in. So how close does the under blanket have to come to the hammock? Touching is the answer. But you've seen, if you start making your adjustments with the hammock on the outside, it's easy to make them adjustments, and them adjustments are just called dialing it in. I don't know why. It's just conforming it to your hammock. Already I know this is going to be a lot better. I just need to adjust that foot end. I don't think I'm going to need a rain fly tonight. So these are the channel lines that had the elastic in that I took out. Now when you get that, it'll be referred to as your primary suspension. It hangs your hammock up off the dirt, and it allows your under blanket to slide down towards your feet or pull it up more over your shoulders. You can actually move it down and back like that. But the trouble with doing that is it falls down like that, and so until all the underneath here is on the floor. And as you can see, just by me taking out this channel line here and switching it over to the secondary, centered where I want it, it's not on the floor. The secondary suspension does all the jobs of your primary suspension very easily and equally as effective. A couple of little toddles, I might have one in my pocket. Yeah, I've got a double barrel cord lock, something like that, and I can make my adjustments from there. So this is important to me, especially after spending more than 200 quid on what is effectively just a blanket, which I struggled with. Because if this works and I wake up warm tomorrow, I'm going to get the top quilt for it, the top section for it. God, I'm thirsty, I need a brew. And if I'm happy with that, I'm going to get the winter set, but rather than getting it from a guy in America, there's a guy in Britain, and he can make them a little cheaper, and I won't be stung on the import charges either. But it all depends on this. on how I sleep tonight. Just level some ground from a stove. Gone with anodised aluminium today. I was running some tests yesterday just to see how far my fuel went with different kind of cups, whether they be anodised aluminium, titanium, stainless steel, and I save a lot more fuel with aluminium. But I brought the anodised out with me. It's not just... I remember saying something many years ago on a similar subject, and somebody wrote back and told me, I don't know why you're in such a rush for your cup of tea. Enjoy your camp. Well, yeah, of course he's right, but he kind of misses the point. I use less fuel. Obviously, the less it's burning, the more I save. So, little homemade cat wicking stove and methylated spirits. It goes through quite a bit of stuff, this. But I didn't want to bring my Booster +1 stove out. It's a bit noisy. I don't really need the windshield because it's windy, but I put it round so it doesn't burn the handles of my mug, which it has been doing. And top it off with my little crown topper there. I was so close to bringing an entire different system out with me. I won't tell you what it is because the nights are drawing in for me now, and once it starts chilling down a little, I'm going to bring it out. I know it works, I've done it a few times, but nobody on the internet has filmed it, and people have discussed it on forums, but nobody's done it. And I thought, how strange. I may as well show you that this is the way I used to do it before I had an under blanket. So there's a great little overnight coming up for the autumn. I can predict a disaster here. Ow. Everything is just balanced. So I'm going to make myself some cowboy coffee. If you're a seasoned hammock hanger and all you know is following the crowd like sheep, they're going to be the ones writing on the comments saying, oh no, primary is primary, secondary is secondary, and you can't tell these people any different. That, you know, it's okay to experiment with your kit and get it working for you, but it's just the way I do it. You don't certainly have to, but if I'd have seen this video when I was starting, it would have made 4 years of me not struggling with the damn thing, and I could have had another 4 years luxury warm shoulder, warm backside camping. So just putting it into the tumble dryer with tennis balls for an hour, maybe 2 hours, has fluffed my under blanket right up, and I very, very rarely wash it, and if I was to, which I haven't done yet, I would hand wash it very, very gently on a cool temperature, but I've got no plans to. Okay, you've got about 3 or 4 hours of half decent light left. I'm not going to bother putting the basher up. Nice bit of Costa coffee. I'm going to have to check what time it is. I'm going to have to check in and advise of change of location. Yeah, so it's a real make or break thing for me with the down under blanket. I really want it to work. I do like it, but it's got to prove to me that in the morning I'm not going to be cold. If that's the case, Maybe I will invest in the top blanket to go with it, because the top quilt or top blanket, oh, it's nice, is super lightweight, very compact, a lot more so than synthetic materials. This is the Snugpak little jungle, and we're right between a change of season where it's not quite cold enough in the night to bring a much bigger sleeping bag, but then again I could do with some additional top layer insulation also. We're right on the cusp of the seasons changing, and if I'm happy with the outcome of this under blanket, now it's puffed up a bit because I put it in for tumble dryer, I may invest in the winter system, take me down to, well, it bottoms out at -16. I don't know what time it is, but there's still light in the air, and I'm feeling it tired. Now I'm between two pine trees here, so if I don't have a tarp up tonight, there are only two things that are going to drop on my head, hopefully, fingers crossed. Don't want a big limb coming down. They all look pretty healthy, but pine cones, they're going to be falling, so I don't know whether to put my tarp up just to stop them hitting me on the head. And as we know, squirrels absolutely love pine trees. I'm putting the shelter up. I don't want squirrels dancing all over my head, and I don't want pine cones dropping on me in the middle of the night either. There you go. I've put a continuous ridge line from one tree to the other, which I don't usually do, but I've done it this time. Got my woolly hat for tonight. I don't wear socks with my trainers, but I do wear them in a hammock. These are my winter fleece 3.5 tog sock jungle sleeping bag. I can't imagine it being as good as my army one, but I'll try it, see what it's like. And I bought the Thermarest Reactor Plus sleeping bag at Liner, and all I want really is a little bit of reassurance. My knife and my torch are hanging up on the Woopie sling, which is head end, and already I can hear the wildlife coming out, so I'm going to have a look what time it is, because I still haven't phoned in. I'm going to be in trouble here. It's a beautiful little place I found, but I wouldn't want to bring the cameras here again, because as you can tell, you're on a tripod, everything is on a damn angle, I can't balance anything. By the time I've balanced the tripod, the light's gone. I can't feel any cold spots on this, and it's fluffed up a treat. I do have the 6 centimeters loft, and like I was saying, all the loft is, if you're new to goose or duck down filled under blankets, is the amount of air that gets mixed with the feathers in these pockets here. My pockets go lengthways down the body, and it does make all the difference having it puffed up, lofted. It makes a big difference. Like I said, I just got it out the pack for my birthday, put it onto the hammock, wasn't impressed. Nobody told me I had to loft it. I wouldn't have even known what lofting is. I wouldn't have known how to loft it. And fair dues, you know, I'm a fast learner. It's only taken 4 years. This is an absolutely beautiful location to film, and look at the sun on this pine tree here. It's gorgeous. It's just a nightmare to film. I want to try and be asleep before 10:30, I reckon. And that way I should be up by 6 in the morning. And that'll give me about an hour to pack down. Found myself yet another framed pack on the car boot. This one has a collapsible frame at the bottom. This part here folds up, and that was the grand old total of £2. That makes about 4 of them I've got now. It's gone dark. Oh, there you are. I did have exactly the same kit you see here, and I had it in my Recon Patrol pack, 38 litre, and it was cutting into my shoulders. It wasn't nice to carry. I swapped exactly the same gear you see here into this, and it just makes a remarkable difference. It's easy to carry your kit in vintage kit. I do like the vintage army stuff as well. Stuff from the 80s and even early 90s I've still got now. I mean, you'll have seen most of it. It's still going like new, strong. I should imagine it will last another 50, 60 years. And this pack here, it's got to be about my age, and this pack looks better. It's certainly weathered better, you know, for 27. Okay, it's just gone past 10 o'clock. I have put it into the diamond configuration, or the ASIM, however you want to look at it. I had to, really, not for choice. I've winged up this section to stand tall on a pole with my little fire bundle of pine cones I collected underneath, should they be required in the evening. Okay, I'm going to finish off the night now before I jump in with some Horlicks. I'll have my water ready, and for some reason I've lost a little grate that sits on top of here, and this is going to be a nightmare because it won't want to stay on, the old pot. It's taken quite a lot, hasn't it? I might be better off with my little booster stove. This is going to be a nightmare. Let's get that into the flame. Oh, first time balanced. Dare I put a lid on it? Oh, it's like Jenga. I'm not usually this disorganised. Well, yes I am. I don't know why I said that. I'm just going to wash my cup out. It just remains for me to say good night and have a drink and test out the tumble dried and suspension changed under blanket from Hammockgear. This has got to work. I need it to. I want it to. God, it's so gentle. Yep, that's boiled. And there's my Horlicks, and I'm using the BCB set tonight. There you have it. Oh, it's hot. I'm going to sugarize it. I've got some in the pack. I can't imagine there being much else to report on really until the morning. Now don't forget I've got the fleece reactor sleeping bag liner and the jungle bag to tell you about in the morning also. I haven't had a night in a jungle bag as of yet. And the all important under blanket or under quilt from Hammockgear. From what I've just been in earlier, it should be warm enough. God, it's got to work. It's got to. Ew. I've heard a couple of gunshots go off. I don't know how close or what they're shooting. Bottom section has done its job perfectly. So I'm going to put this back in the tumble dryer every time I come out. Okay, let's just have a look at the temperature. Get my glasses on for this. We've got an outside temperature of 18. Wow, it's going to be a nice old day. Inside temperature 27. I'll start taking most of the kit down. I can hear gunshot. It's getting closer. Did you hear that? Like I said, when I got up for a wee, it was about 8 degrees. And that's when the jungle bag and sleeping bag liner sort of bottomed out. I had no problem getting back to sleep, no problem at all actually. But I thought I'd bring you that little factoid. So that is the sleeping bag liner. Take 3, take 4, take 5, 6, take 8. I think I'd preferred the black bag for my MSS, which is the intermediate bag, but this and that sleeping bag liner did just fine for around 8 degrees, completely naked. Then I put some togs on and we got down a little further. So I'm putting the under blanket in along with the hammock. That's all ready inside that, along with the suspension. It is only for travel purposes, this stuff sack now. I'm certainly not going to store my under blanket in it. Right, brew time and then we're off. I'm quite happy with that as a test for the Hammockgear under quilt, with a couple of modifications and lofting it in the tumble dryer for an hour, along with some tennis balls in. So I poured out a mugful from my canteen, which is on the little stove, which is used 100 ml, just on about 4 brews. It is a stealthy little number. No one can hear that, and if I put a windshield round it, no one can see it. I could have easily used more water if I'd have required it, so that's handy to know there. I've got the mad gunman this way through the forest, and I've got them mad cows there. I plucked up the courage last night and walked through that field of bulls and cows and everything, and I don't like them, so it's quite a challenge for me. I probably will end up walking through the woodland here. I'm pretty sure I know where I am. It's just, I haven't actually come this far up before. It's an extra 2 miles onto the journey. So would I use the Hammockgear underquilt again? Yes, certainly. So I did sleep in the hammock at one point with barely anything on, and it was nice. If you want to find out what system I'll be taking out next, make sure you're subbed up, hit the bell, and I will see you pretty soon on Bexbugoutsurvivor. Until next time, take care of yourself and happy trails.